In the previous video, we set up this basic electrical plant and started researching science. What we didn't cover is why we built it in this particular way and what ratios are. So let's begin. It is important to respect certain ratios if you don't want to be wasting resources or have an unoptimized system. Every machine in Factorio has a limited working speed or limited input. Let's look at this pump, for example. You will see by looking at the information panel on the right of the screen that it has a pumping speed of 1200 units of water per second. Now let's compare it with this boiler. A boiler consumes 60 units of water per second and outputs 60 units of steam a second. And finally, the steam engine. It consumes 30 units per second, and it is by looking at those numbers that you can map out the ratio. A boiler can power 2 steam engines, and if you divide the pumping speed of the pump with the consumption rate of the boiler, you'll find that a single pump can supply 20 boilers. Now, if you run out of power, you know that you can keep expanding this design by adding up to 19 additional boilers. It is worth noting here that the steam engine's working speed will match your overall power consumption. In other words, your boilers will only consume as much coal as is needed to supply your base with electricity, and you don't have to worry about your power plant consuming and wasting all your coal. Speaking of power consumption, you can look up the electric network information by clicking on any power pole connected to your network. The first thing you'll notice are those graphs. They display power consumption information on the left pane and production information on the right. The bars on top are percentage based. If your satisfaction bar is full, it means you're able to produce enough power to supply your whole base. You want to compare this to the production bar. This represents percentage-wise how much power you're currently producing, here, versus how much your maximum power production is if, for example, all your steam engines were running at full capacity. In other words, once this bar reaches about 70%, that's when you want to increase your power production by adding additional boilers and engines. Don't worry about the accumulator charge for now. It will come in handy later into the game. Accumulators are basically big batteries you can use to store power. Now we've reached the state into the game where we'll want to start worrying about pollution. Open up your map with M and toggle the pollution overlay by clicking on this icon. As you expand your base and produce more materials, you'll also generate more pollution. Aliens, or more commonly known as biters, do not like pollution. Once the pollution cloud reaches their base, they will start massing up and ready themselves for an attack. Be sure to have set up some defenses until then. This clip shows a biter base absorbing pollution and launching a small attack. Note that the only things that absorb pollution are trees at a very low rate and biter bases. Since we find ourselves in a desert, we want to be extra mindful of pollution. Alright, I've just finished researching the military and turrets research. You can place down a turret to defend your base, but keep in mind the turret range indicated with the green circle. When attacking, biters will always prioritize targeting the closest turrets in their path. Also note that the gun turrets don't need power to function and will shoot for as long as they have ammunition. The military research also gives us access to a submachine gun as well as a shotgun, The submachine gun uses the same ammo as the pistol, but the shotgun uses its own ammunition. Let's also craft a light armor to up our defenses. You can use tab to cycle between the selected weapons. At this point, you can also get rid of the starting pistol. To do so, simply put it in a box. To shoot, you can hold space or use your mouse to aim. Your character will automatically target the closest target to your cursor. If you wish to shoot at a specific item, let's say you wish to destroy this box, for example to get rid of the pistol inside, you can target using C. Now, since we are already reviewing the items in the combat tab, you should also consider placing down a few radars. Be careful, these are quite a bit power hungry. Also, notice the radar range indicated in blue on the minimap. While active, you will be able to see what's happening within the radar range by zooming in on your map. Radar also help discover distant chunks by scanning them one by one. This can be very useful, but is also quite slow. There are mainly two categories of bases in Factorio. The most common is called a base with a main bus system. The main bus is an organized network of belt lines carrying your resources parallel through your base, each on its own dedicated line. This allows for an optimal base layout where you can branch off on either side of your main bus to build dedicated mini factories. The main advantages are that your base is well organized and easily expandable. An unorganized base without a main bus is commonly referred to as a spaghetti base. When playing Factorio, you may be tempted to just rush along and start building everything as fast as possible, but doing so comes with a lot of struggling later on in your game, when you'll have no more room for expansion and will spend a lot of time trying to fix your base. In this guided playthrough, we'll obviously go for an organized base with a main boss. Although better for late game, it takes a lot of planning in the early game and requires us to leave a lot of space for future expansions. Okay, it is now time to start building our starter base. As you can see, I already placed down a manufacturing area. To help me craft a few items, we'll need quite a few inserters and belts for this first part. We are going to set up a dedicated smelting area where we'll process the ore into plates before bringing them into the base. I'm going to leave a lot of space for future expansion, and I've already started planning out where I'm going to place my smelter. So we are going to have at least one smelting array for steel, then we are going to have 4 smelting arrays for iron and 4 for the copper ore. There is a water lake in the way, but we are going to use landfill to fill it in. So let's begin here in the middle. So this is steel, 1, 2, 3, 4 for the iron. So we are going to start building this array right here. And there you go, this will do for now. So this is a widely used design of a smelting array, but to build it you'll need to have unlocked the logistics research to get access to the underground belts and the splitters. Now how does this work? Well, in Factorio, if you pipe one belt into another belt, every belt has two lines that you can put items on, and if you pipe one belt into another belt, it will automatically put the items on the closest line of this belt. So we are using splitters here. A splitter splits one line into two lines, and we are splitting this line into this line, and these belts here are going up, these are going down, and so we are using the splitters to put the coal on both sides of the smelting array. And here we are using the underground belts to feed this belt underneath these two lines. Now notice here that this is where the main boss is going to begin, and I left 4 belt spaces here in between because 4 is the size of the roboports, which we can then place later on in the game in between the main lines of our main boss. Also, don't forget to place radars everywhere around your map, as well as upgrading your power production and adding defensive turrets around your base. Alright, now then, this is going to be the spacing for our main boss. We are going to have 4 lines of iron going into the belt, as well as 4 lines of copper. Then we'll have 2 lines dedicated for the green circuit, as we are going to need a lot of them throughout the base. This here is going to be a steel line, because again we are going to want to use a lot of steel. This will be dedicated for gear wheels. Again, we are going to need a lot of those. And then I'll have 1 line for coal, 1 for stone, and 1 for brick. And this is going to be a spare line. So now that we know how much space we need for our main boss, we can begin building our 2 first sub factories here on as branch expansions of the main boss. So let's start with the gear factory. Again, I'm going to leave a lot of space here, because we don't really need to cramp everything into one spot, and this will be simply dedicated to making gears. Now what we are going to want to do is keep extending this main boss system, and then simply use splitters to take whatever we need from the main boss and bring it into our mini factory. And now for the electric circuit mini factory, this one is going to be also very simple to build. Green circuits require copper cables and iron plates, and again here we can actually calculate the ratio quite easily. So one electronic circuit is going to take half a second to craft with 3 copper cables, and you can craft 2 copper cables in half a second, which means that 3 copper cable factories are going to produce 6 copper cables in half a second, and because you need 3 every half second for one machine, you can use this 3:2 ratio, and it's going to be a perfect ratio for your green circuits. Okay then, now let's keep going. Now that we have set up our green circuits and gear wheel production, we can start building a dedicated area where we are going to build all the components needed for our base, like for example assembling machines, inserters, chests, belts, and whatnot. We usually call this part of the base the make everything or the mall. So let's go ahead and start setting up everything we need. This year we'll be making this year we'll be making transport belt. This one will be making underground belts, and this one the splitters. And what we can do is use these inserters to take directly the belts from this machine and put it into this machine, and now we simply have to connect the rest. So let's go ahead. This here is the part where we're going to want to use long-handed inserters. These inserters can take from a further range than the normal inserters, so they will take from 1 block away and put 1 block away also, and this is going to be very useful in this situation here. Now, if you don't want to have your chest fill up with unnecessary resources, you can press on the cross and set a limit to how many items you wish to be produced. In this case, we are only going to want at least 2 stacks of underground belts, about 6 stacks of normal belts, and again about 2 stacks of splitters. If your turrets are starting to take damage from the biters, you can use the repair packs here in the production tab to repair the damage. So let's go ahead and also add some repair packs here to our make everything. And I'm also going to take this opportunity to start adding a branch to my base where I'm going to focus on producing ammunition to defend from the biters. Ammunition takes a lot of iron, so I need to be careful with that. Okay, now here I'm using the splitters to deal with the overlapping or patches. Now the filtering system on the splitters is a bit limited because you can only filter out a single item per splitter, so make sure that you don't have more than 2 items per belt. Set your filter and specify on which side to output the filtered item. Now I'm connecting this output belt to my main coal belt, but also make sure to prioritize inputting from the filtered belt, because if you don't do it and this belt backlogs, it's going to jam the filtered splitter and also clog your iron ore belt. And I've also added a filter from the coal belt to the iron belt. Alright then, so before I removed my dedicated science area, but you want to set up a permanent area here in our base. And so what we are going to do is we are going to set up one for the red science packs, and now one for the logistics science packs, the green one. As you can see, the recipe is also quite simple for this one, so let's go ahead and start researching this. I'm going to move these turrets here because they're in the way, and I'm going to start setting up my science area here. So let's go ahead and start adding some machines. Now for the red science packs, a pack takes 5 seconds to craft, and you only need 1 copper plate and 1 iron gear wheel. So because they take 5 seconds to craft, what I usually like to do is make it so that I'm producing 1 science pack of each type every second. So to have 1 every second, we are going to want to have 5 machines for producing the automation science pack. So let's have 5 in a row, and actually we don't need this one. And yeah, we simply bring in the iron, the copper and the gears, and this will be our first science pack branch. Alright then, so let's keep on going here with the production of the science pack, and we are going to want to set up our mini factory for the production of the green science pack, the logistics science packs. So these take 6 seconds of crafting time, which means we'll have 6 factories for those, but they also require transport belt and inserters, so we need to start producing these before. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to place them offset like so. This machine will be making the inserter, this machine will be making the transport belts, and actually we can place them like so, have them feed onto a belt which will be placed here. This will be an iron plate, and this will be a green circuits belt. So place this like so, this here, and here we'll have placed like so our 6 assemblers for making the green science packs. And voila, so I've been researching the weapon shooting speed so that the turret can shoot at a faster rate, but now that it is done, we'll begin also researching the steel. Alright guys, now I hope you enjoyed watching today's episode. If you have any comments or feedback regarding the episode, please let me know in the comment section, and otherwise I'll see you soon in the next episode.